Some DD the other day said OTC trades don't generate FTDs, go straight to the obligation warehouse and aren't cleared through CNS. Is that true? To some extent, yeah. FTDs that occur in the over-the-counter like system go straight to the obligations warehouse. They're cleared out from the obligations warehouse on a like set schedule. Sentence borrow rate up to 14.2. Cool. How is it false? They're creating another synthetic hole when they cover the synthetic. The original synthetic is gone, but a new one is now in place. No. No. Shrimmy boom. You have a short FTD and a long buy. And especially if this is synthetic. If this is real, then it will carry forward because the share isn't returned and will still be due the lender. But if this is synthetic, it's gone forever. CNS. Yeah, I know it. There. It's not sitting in your brokerage account. It's created through bona fide market making and ETFs. They don't give a shit about your shares. They barely borrow them. We've been over this 100 times. Nope, cleared. You can go look it up. It's a problem. The SEC knows about it. They've known about it for 10 years. I want to understand. So this share the synthetic share was never located in the first place. No locate, which means it's not backed by any real security, right? It's generated through ETF creation. And bona fide market making. If sufficient long volume exists for CNS to clear this short FTD, then that's it. The trade is settled. Continuous net settlement, not continuous net can kicking. If the share is real, now there is a caveat. If the share is real and it is net settled, right? There's an actual borrow and a short sell agreement, and it goes through CNS to clear the FTD. You are still left with a short sale on the other side that will then fail again in 35 days. But if it's synthetic, no. Are you playing the SPY today or something else? I have some calls on the SPY, which I'm probably going to close soon, but we'll see. Maybe towards the end of the day. So you're saying the shares are inside the computer. The swaps info is available now. It's being reviewed, but it's only from November. So it's not a lot of information, but yeah, there's swaps on GameStop. I think they were digging last night and they found 27 so far. And there's some variant swap baskets that are under other GME related tickers. But lots of data. I mean, there's like 735,000 lines, so it's a lot to dig through. How is it a problem then if it clears the FTDs? I thought the buildup of FTDs is significant. So if we DRS, it's in my account, and if we ever own the float, then how does CNS? I mean, CNS will continue to work whether the float is locked or not. It doesn't stop bona fide market making or ETF share creation. The synthetic FTD is a position held by someone in retail. No, it's created through ETFs and bona fide market making. This isn't a complicated fucking process to explain. So how do borrowed shares used to clear FTDs get returned to the lender from elsewhere? They just buy them back and return them. Again, shares are serialized, but the serialized, they don't keep track of the serial numbers. So to lenders, all shares are equal. There's no real share, there's no synthetic share. A share in their account is a share in their account, regardless of where it was created. So they simply, if they borrow 200,000 shares and use it to clear 200,000 FTDs, then they just buy those shares back the same way you or I could buy 200,000 shares at market at any time. And then they give them back to the lender, and then that's it. They're returned. The whole transaction is done. FTD buildup is a danger, our coats, because the more FTDs they have, the more difficult it is to clear it through CNS. You know, if you have 2 million, right? Say you have 2 million short FTDs. This is where the FTDs can affect price improvement. You have 2 million short FTDs, but you have 10,000 long volume. You no longer have sufficient volume to clear these FTDs. So you have to generate that missing 1.9 million volume. This creates buy pressure from FTDs. During a squeeze, they're just covering all their positions. They're not really clearing FTDs mid-squeeze, right? They'd have the FTDs for the day or whatever cleared very early. There's also other types of squeezes going on when you get to a short squeeze, because you have all these variance positions and the massive number of call options being purchased in order to hedge not only the increase in volatility, but the increase in price. Do you think we hold the float? I would say that we likely own all of it. And then we buy them. For the quants, if using Excel, it's helpful to drop the data in Google Sheets, like Google Power the processing. Way faster working in the sheet. Oh, okay. Thanks, Wapopotamus. I'm sure they know that. I think they already have ported it to Google Sheets. Monday is the 21st. Is President's Day and the market is closed. Will this have any impact on the OPEX next week? Yeah, it means that OPEX can clear out as late as Thursday. Will you put on a swap meet? Yeah, if we find anything of significance, I'll let everyone know. Who's the counterparty for the synthetic FTD if the share is sold on the open market? Whoever buys it. They don't care. They have a real share. It's not synthetic. It's just a share. CNS processes billions of transactions a day. It's a very efficient system. Why not buy at market and skip the borrow process? Are you talking about like share creation? Like why not just buy at market and skip the share creation? Because they don't want to improve the price. If you buy at market, it causes price improvement. If you create an ETF, it doesn't affect the underlying. So you get pure sell pressure without ever having to buy the actual stock, which is great if you're short, right? You don't have to borrow and you don't have to buy it. It's fucking amazing. Continuous net settlement. During high periods of FTDs, it's actually not in our best interest to buy shares that day. I mean, I don't think retail buys enough to really affect any of this process. Not to a great degree, not intraday. I mean, FOMO could, Paris, but it also creates another FTD, right? Because now you have a share that needs to be constantly satisfied. Are we even talking about a squeeze? It feels like we're very far away at the moment. I mean, we are and we aren't. We're definitely during a higher probability period than normal, especially with OPEX coming up. I've explained ETF creation, bona fide market making, variant swaps, long volume like 100 times. These clips already exist, Jose. If people don't want to go look for them, it's not my problem. I'm not going to keep digging into it over and over and over again. Well, because there's usually not enough shares available to borrow. JCan. Share borrowing, I mean, is fairly limited on GameStop, and they don't want to bump the borrow rate. What's with the new people asking these questions? Just stick to buy and hold if your brains are too smooth. I mean, people want to know more. It's understandable. What's your floor? Selling on the way down after a possible peak. Okay, if a short squeeze peaks, no one's buying on the way down, man. That's not how that works. I don't have a floor. I'll just follow price action, whatever happens. You can trail it. That's how you exit high volatility positions. I have an entire exit DD on it that you can check out. I think there's a video also. But dad can beat up your dad. He went to prison when I was 3, but I remember how hard he can punch. Thanks, Matt Kors. Probably. Mine's dead. So it's like not hard to beat up. You said they can't use ETF creation to fulfill OPEX. They can. It's very expensive, and there's probably not enough available shares. Great clip, good content. No for real, though. Thank you, dude. Thank you, NW. I appreciate it, man. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. Russia Kremlin and its recent aggression to Ukraine were due in large part to entropy swap they were goaded into in hopes to make retail paper hand. How much does CNS pay you to extol its virtues? How much better would your life be if the idea of synthetic shares was never introduced to the smooth-brained? I don't know. I like explaining it. I want people to understand it and know, because it's important to understand how all this works. I think, again, greater education leads to better understanding, which leads to more confidence in their position, right? They're abusing the system. Yes. Do you think there's ever a % short interest on XRT? Will the SEC finally go, something is messed up here? I mean, short interest on ETFs is relative to the ETF's current shares outstanding, which fluctuates. And that's why you see the short interest spike so massively, is because the shares outstanding in the ETF have dropped. You think previous run-ups are in part due to an inability to borrow? Or are they pumping IV? Something I'm missing. The previous run-ups have been due to having to clear obligations from those ETFs and from those derivatives at the end of each quarter. Because there's obligations created outside of just the FTD CNS system. There's gamma exposure. There's obligations due at the market maker level, and that's what we're seeing. All of that cleared out when we run. Dan's have a different definition for CNS. If they can just fulfill FTD obligations with synthetics, why in the world does anyone believe in MOASS? Because through the process of them doing that, they can drive the price up. If FTDs are high enough, there are other factors at play, right? There's variant swaps that have to be hedged, and so those FTDs can drive that volatility. That volatility can then drive Volga-Vada squeezes, like what we saw last January. Those can drive gamma squeezes if people are exercising options instead of cash settling them. And gamma squeezes can drive short squeezes. If the price is high enough, whatever open short positions are on the stock can create a margin call on the entity holding that debit, or that, yeah. And that can cause a short squeeze. So it's even with all of these processes in place, it's still possible for that to occur. It's just a very particular set of events need to line up.